Here to talk to you today about the Vance and Hines line of exhaust for Harley Softail and Dyna. You should be considering a Vance and Hines exhaust for your Dyna or Softail if you want a bike that's going to perform, that's going to look great, and it's going to sound great as well. Listen to the Dyna behind me with a set of big radius 2 and 2 pipes on it. I think you're going to like it. So if you're new to the world of exhaust for your Harley, no doubt you've heard the name Vance and Hines at least pop up, and if you hadn't, you should really consider them. They're definitely a game changer in the world of Harley exhaust. I think they're sort of the gold standard that everyone else is compared to. There's a reason for this. They've been around for a long time. Vance and Hines have been cranking out exhaust for Harley for a good long while. They're very good at it. They make a quality product that sounds great, looks great, and installs easily because they really think about the end user and they think about how this thing has to go together on a bike. They make it simple and they make a really solid exhaust. Vance and Hines makes these puppies for Dynas and Softails going back even into the Evo years. There's a lot of fitment, so be sure you put your bike into our bike finder and we're going to make sure we get you the set of pipes that's going to fit on your bike precisely. Installation on these is typically going to be about a 2-beard install depending on a few things and what kind of bike you have, also depending on what kind of system it is that you wind up going with. 2 beards though, however, should be about your guideline. Probably not as easy as an oil change, but probably not as difficult as replacing a whole engine. Let's get right into the nitty-gritty of Vance and Hines pipes, find out what sets them apart, and find out maybe which system might work well for you and your bike and your riding style. As we mentioned, the Softail and Dyna series of exhausts are actually some of their longest running ones. So if you're choosing something for your Softail and Dyna, you should know that there's a lot of options out there because you've got Dyna fitments as far back as 91, Softail as far back as 86. So those of you guys rocking Evos, you're not left in the cold. There's a little something for everybody here, which I really like. The other thing I think is super cool, some of you guys with the weirdo, hard-to-fit bikes, Switchback, Rocker, Deuce, if you are looking for a set of exhaust, there is no question that there's going to be something available for you from Vance and Hines. They cover everything in the family. You might not have a huge range, but there's going to be at least 1 or 2 exhausts that are going to fit your bike. So let's talk about who Vance and Hines is and why they're famous and why everybody seems to talk about them and why they're the name that pops up when folks are looking for an exhaust. So first things first, Vance and Hines have been around for a long time. They got their start racing in the 70s, and they still actually race today. But they applied a lot of that technology they were picking up on the track to their customer-based products, and it turns out that they were able to make exhausts that really sounded well, but they performed fantastically as well. The other thing that sets them apart is their construction. Vance and Hines is sort of the gold standard when it comes to how a pipe should be made. They're really nicely put together. Every single one of these pipes you see in front of me is actually bent by a CNC machine. These are computer bent, so it's not just some guy whacking away, with a hammer trying to straighten out a piece of pipe and bend it to your bike. These things are all done by computer, and then, just as a further double check, they're actually checked in a jig to make sure that they are going to fit onto your bike. The odds of getting something that fits wrong are slim to none. Everything fits perfectly. So in broad terms, for most Softails and Dynas, you're really going to come down to 2 types of exhaust made by Vance and Hines. You're going to have your slip-ons, like these twin slash you can see over here, and then you also have like a full system exhaust, which includes the mufflers like the twin slash does, but also the head pipe section too, as you can see on this set of short shots in front of me. Which one's going to be right for you? So the thing you're going to think about first is obviously budget. If you're hurting for coin, maybe you just picked up your bike and bike payments are killing you, you're going to want to look at a mufflers only system. They're more affordable. The difference between the two of them is that a mufflers only system is going to give you the great looks Vance and Hines known for. It's also going to give you that great sound. However, it's not going to add so much in terms of performance. Because you're going to stick with your factory head pipes, you're not really changing the performance characteristics of the engine too much. Now, for those of you who maybe have a highly modified bike, or you really do want to get every last bit out of your stock engine, you're going to want to look at a full exhaust. That's going to give you the best crack at getting the most oomph out of your existing setup. So the 2 of these obviously can be right for different customers. You want to think, though, about your long play. Think about what you want your bike to be down the road. It doesn't really make sense to start with a set of mufflers just because they're affordable if you eventually want to build some sort of a high horsepower hot rod and then have to go back and replace it with a full system. Vance and Hines, too, doesn't allow the combination of mufflers and the head pipes, so you really have to kind of make a call on one or the other. Upgrading your mufflers into a full system isn't possible with a Vance system. So that's why I say you want to think about that end game for yourself. What is it you really want to end up with? So getting into the actual construction of these pipes, let's find out what makes Vance and Hines great, what makes them stand out among their peers, and why these are the pipes that everybody seems to go to. So I think the first important thing to look at when you're talking about a Vance and Hines exhaust is the actual heat shield itself. So you're looking at a black short shot right now. So the black short shot really refers to only the heat shield. One of the, I think, little known facts about Vance and Hines exhaust is that all of their exhaust, believe it or not, as you can see here as I take this thing apart, all of the exhaust is actually chrome. What you're seeing that's black is the heat shield, which is really Vance and Hines' claim to fame. They are the progenitor of the 222-degree heat shield. And what that means is if you flip this thing over, you can see here this arc, this radius, actually covers up 222 degrees of the exhaust. What it means is that it acts as a heat shield, but really it gives a single, smooth, continuous diameter look to your exhaust. So instead of having, you know, those steps in the stock system that you'll see all the time, these things just look like one continuous pipe all the way out, even though they're not. So the heat shield offers a few benefits. Firstly, I'm sure you've all seen the guy running down the road with those nasty blue and gold pipes. They're all stained and they look terrible. Well, the reason that happens is typically poor tuning. Bike might be running lean, cam timing might be off, ignition timing might be funny. Whatever the case though, those pipes got hot, and that's what gave it that gold and blue look. Well, the heat shields keep that from happening. Even if your pipe underneath winds up going blue and gold, it won't really affect anything looks-wise because you'll have the heat shield sitting over the top of it, covering the pipe, keeping it looking beautiful. The other nice part about the heat shield is that it keeps an air gap between the inside of the shield and the pipe. So what that means is if you happen to get maybe say your rain gear or even a body part up against the pipe, you're probably not going to suffer a super severe burn. They do still get hot, absolutely. However, because you're not touching the hot part of the pipe, you have that air gap between, it's typically a little bit cooler. It really can be a nice safety measure. So I had mentioned earlier, you can see here this pipe is chrome, and when the heat shield is affixed, really all you see is a black pipe with just a hint of chrome peeking out the back. It provides a really nice contrast. However, there's a practical matter here too. Vance and Hines winds up coating only the heat shield black so they can keep all of the pipes chrome. The chrome is actually super, super durable. Chrome is one of the most durable finishes you can apply to a metal. So with the black heat shield, what Vance and Hines is doing for you is making sure you get the durability of chrome with that cool black look. Speaking of that black, Vance and Hines goes to great lengths to make sure the coating that they use matches a Harley factory black very close. So if you happen to have a blacked out motor, blacked out primary, this is going to match all of the other flat black parts on your bike. Those of you guys on night trains, I mean, your whole bike is black. This is going to match really closely. It's going to get right in there with the OEM stuff, and it's going to look great. One of the other things, too, that I really like about Vance and Hines, we had mentioned before about how it's a quality-made product. You can see here on the exhaust brackets they use, these are laser cut, so the holes are drilled perfectly, there's no burrs, there's no rough spots. These things are made to fit perfectly, and you can see how thick these are. These are really beefy brackets. You're not going to have to worry about your exhaust rattling, coming loose. These things are really made solidly. This brings me to installation. So I talked earlier about how installation is a two-beard affair, and that's sort of a general overview for most Dynas and Softail. It's going to change up a little bit depending on what model you have and what exhaust you wind up going with, but for most of you guys, the easiest thing to install is going to be a mufflers-only system. You're really going to pop your old mufflers off, slide the new ones on, bolt everything up, and go ride. Shouldn't take too much time for most of you. Now, a full exhaust installation isn't a lot harder, but there is a little bit more that needs to be considered. Firstly, you do have longer heat shields to deal with. They're just physically a little bit bulkier to get in place. You have a couple more points of attachment for them, so it can take just a little bit longer. Like with most full exhausts, we recommend with the Vance and Hines full systems that you do want to go ahead and adjust your fueling somehow if you install one. Harleys come from the factory crazy lean, we've said it a million times before, and these exhausts flow well enough, they just exacerbate an already bad problem. So that can add a little bit of time to your installation. If you already have a fuel control on your bike, it's a straight bolt and go affair. You're going to pull your existing exhaust off, put these puppies on there, you're going to reprogram your fuel controller, and you're going to be off riding. If you don't have one though, you are going to want to take some time, so set aside a few additional hours to make sure you get a fuel controller on there concurrently with your new exhaust. I think Vance and Hines really knocks it out of the park with a lot of the exhaust they make for Dyna and Softail. I have one on a Softail style chopper I really love them. I also really like the fact that they take care of everybody in the Dyna and Softail family. Breakout, switchback guys, those of you guys in the hard to find stuff like rockers, you're going to be able to find an exhaust that's going to work for you, it's going to look great, it's going to sound great. My opinion is not the only one that matters though. Click below to read some rider opinions on their Vance and Hines exhaust and see if it might be right for you. If there's some questions that I didn't answer for you, get a hold of us. See us at RevZilla.com, or you can always get a Gear Geek on the phone, 877-792-9455. I'm Lemmy. I'm out of here.